You don't need motivation, you need a decision. You don't need another YouTube video to hype you up. You don't need another podcast, another quote, another reel, another burst of inspiration that fades by nightfall. You don't need motivation. You need a decision. A real one. The kind that slams the door shut on who you used to be. The kind that draws a line in the sand and says, I will never go back. Because let me tell you something no one wants to admit. Motivation is unreliable. It will abandon you the moment pain enters the room. It will betray you at 5 a.m. when the alarm rings and your bed is warm. It will vanish when your muscles ache, when the critics get loud. When nothing seems to be working, and you want to disappear. Motivation is a spark. But decision is the fire. It's the internal switch that flips when you've had enough. When you're done negotiating with fear. When you stop entertaining excuses. When you stop treating your dreams like side projects. And start treating them like your life depends on them. Because it does. Every day you hesitate is a day of your life gone. Time doesn't care about your intentions. It only honors your execution. And yet, most people are stuck in a waiting room of their own making. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for signs. Waiting for approval. Waiting for the stars to align. But the truth is, the stars don't align. You do. You align your habits with your vision. You align your words with your actions. You align your identity with your future, not your past. You want to change your life. You don't need to feel like it. You need to decide. Because when you decide, truly decide, your environment stops controlling you. Your doubts stop deciding for you. And your past stops defining you. That's what separates the few who rise from the many who wait. Carnegie didn't build an empire because he was motivated. He built it because he decided. Decided to rise above his poverty. Decided to master his mind. Decided to become unignorable. Think about it. Every person who ever changed the world had the same fear. The same pressure. The same unknowns you have. But they made the decision. Edison made it when he failed 1,000 times and refused to quit. Disney made it when they told him he lacked imagination. Oprah made it when they told her she wasn't fit for television. They weren't waiting to feel confident. They decided to become confident. Because confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build with every courageous step you take into the dark. Most people think they need courage to act. But the truth is, you act, and courage follows. Every time you show up when it's hard, you earn a little more of yourself back. You remember who you are beneath the lies, the fear, the self-doubt. But none of that begins until you decide. You don't drift into greatness. You decide to walk into the fire. And stay there until your future is forged. You don't stumble into discipline. You decide to show up anyway. On the days you feel tired. On the days you feel broken. On the days when your motivation is gone and your excuses feel justified. Because that's the moment you choose who you are. Not when it's easy, but when it's brutal. That's the moment your identity shifts from, I try, to, I become. You see, the reason most people never become who they're capable of being is because they keep negotiating with their limitations. They argue for their weakness. They justify their procrastination. They defend their fear like it's a part of their identity. But listen closely. You are not your fear. You are not your failure. You are not your past. You are what you decide to become. Not someday, but right now. You're not waiting for clarity. You are avoiding the cost. Because deciding, truly deciding, demands something from you. It demands the death of comfort. It demands the burial of your excuses. It demands that you give up the fantasy of safety. And walk straight into the unknown. Unarmed, unready, but unstoppable. And that's why most people run. They think they're afraid of failure. But what they're really afraid of is commitment. Because once you decide, once you declare to the world, this is who I am. This is what I will do. You can't hide anymore. You become accountable to your own standard. And that's terrifying. Because now there's no turning back. No exit. No room for pity. Just the path. Just the work. Just the fight between who you were and who you are becoming. But let me ask you this. What's more terrifying? Facing your fear, or living a life that was never fully lived? Dying with your potential still buried inside you. A dream in life becomes a wound that never heals. It festers in your spirit. It whispers in your quiet moments. It asks, what if? and never lets you sleep in peace. You don't want that kind of life. You want the life that sets your soul on fire. The kind that makes your heart beat faster when you wake up. The kind where pain has a purpose. Where suffering means progress. Where every failure becomes a stepping stone. Not a gravestone. But that life only comes to those who make the decision. The decision to fight when they're tired. To keep walking when the road vanishes. To build when there's no blueprint. To lead when no one believes. To become when the world wants you to stay average. You've got to burn the escape plan. Tear down the backup route. Kill the second option. There is no plan B for those who are truly committed to plan A. Because winners don't keep doors half open. They slam them shut and weld them closed. They say, this is my path. I'm all in. There is no going back. That is the difference between motivation and decision. Motivation says, I hope I can. Decision says, I will or die trying. And that mindset, that quiet, burning, relentless conviction, is what transforms ordinary men into giants. Abraham Lincoln didn't have certainty. He had resolve. He faced loss after loss, defeat after defeat. Yet he kept walking, not because he was motivated, but because he had decided to become more than the world expected of him. That's what greatness is. Not some grand event, but a decision made in silence and repeated in action every single day. You want motivation? Forget it. You want change? Decide. Because when you do, everything aligns. When you decide, really decide, the world shifts around you. Not because fate suddenly favors you, but because your focus becomes unbreakable. Your energy, once scattered by doubt and distraction, channels into a single, unstoppable current. People feel it. Doors open, not because they were locked before, but because you finally stopped knocking timidly and kicked them open with conviction. Decide, and your mind obeys. Your body follows. The universe responds. But most people, they dabble. They dip their toes in destiny like it's a pool they can exit anytime. They say things like, I'll try. And, let's see how it goes. And, maybe it's not meant for me. No, you are what is meant for you. And the only thing standing between you and it is hesitation. Decide to outlast the pain. Decide to outwork your doubt. Decide that success is not a lottery ticket, it's a blood pact you sign with your future. Look at Thomas Edison. 10,000 failed experiments. 10,000 steps closer to the light. That wasn't motivation. That was obsession forged in decision. He didn't say, I hope this works. He said, I will make it work, even if it kills me. You think that kind of man needed morning affirmations to keep going? No. He was powered by purpose, not emotion. He didn't chase passion, he ignited it. The truth is, passion comes after discipline. It comes after sweat, after disappointment, after you've been knocked down enough times that you either stay broken or stand taller than ever before. And if you want the kind of life you've only dreamed of, you'll need to learn how to suffer with intention. How to walk through fire without asking for shade. Because the world doesn't give crowns to the interested. It gives them to the committed. The ones who decide that this isn't just a hope or a phase. It's an identity. You become what you tolerate. If you tolerate mediocrity, you become it. If you tolerate delay, it becomes your habit. But if you decide, fully, deeply, relentlessly, that you were made for more, then nothing can hold you back. Not fear, not failure, not fatigue, not critics or haters or a childhood of being underestimated. You rewrite the story by living a new chapter. One where the hero doesn't wait to feel ready. He moves because it's time. And it is time. No one is coming to save you. No lightning bolt is coming from the sky. No perfect mentor. No magical break. Only the moment in front of you. And the decision to rise. That's all you ever had. That's all you ever needed. So don't waste another second begging for permission. Don't wait for the universe to nod. You nod to yourself. You stare into the mirror and say, I decide who I am. And today, I choose to become unstoppable. Most people are chasing a feeling. They want motivation to come knock on the door like a guest, bringing fireworks and fanfare. But motivation doesn't visit the indecisive. Motivation is a byproduct of motion. It follows movement. It's not the fire starter, it's the smoke. And smoke doesn't come unless something's burning. So ask yourself, what are you willing to burn? Your excuses, your comfort zone, your fear of failure. Because something has to die in order for the new you to live. The version of you that keeps quitting. That one has to be buried. The version that needs praise to keep going. That one doesn't survive in the jungle of success. You don't get to the top by being liked. You get there by being locked in. By being the one who keeps building while others talk. While they post about the grind, you are grinding. While they plan someday, you dominate today. Remember this. Life doesn't reward potential. It rewards proof. And the only way to prove you're serious is to decide. Decide that discipline is your religion. That you'll show up when it's boring. When it's hard. When no one's clapping. When the world offers you every excuse to stop. And you say, I keep going. Let them call you obsessed. Let them say you've changed. Because that's the point. Change is the price. Obsession is the path. Sacrifice is the toll. There is no neutral in this life. Every day you are either stepping toward the life you want, or away from it. You can lie to others. But you can't lie to the man in the mirror. He knows if you are all in. He knows if today is just another, maybe later. Decide. And that man in the mirror transforms. His eyes change. His voice deepens with conviction. His shoulders square up with intention. Because now, he doesn't need a pep talk. He doesn't need a perfect morning. He wakes up with a fire no one else can see. And he doesn't owe anyone an explanation. You want results no one has. Do the work no one sees. Make decisions no one understands. Feel the hunger no one else feels. That's the level. That's the price. And only the decided are allowed in. When you finally decide, the universe begins to rearrange itself around that decision. Not for the undecided. Not for the half-hearted. But for the ones who declare, I will not be denied. See, most people don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they keep negotiating with their weakness. They keep giving their fear a microphone. Their doubt a seat at the table. Their comfort a vote in every decision. But when you truly decide, you silence the committee. You strip fear of its voice. You starve your excuses. You take the keys away from hesitation. And give them to action. This world doesn't care about your feelings. It responds to your patterns. It reflects your standards. So when you raise your standards, your life must rise with it. Not someday. Not after you feel ready. But the moment you say, enough. Enough of the delay. Enough of the cycles. Enough of letting comfort rob you of your calling. Every man you admire, every woman who shaped history. They weren't waiting for motivation. They had already decided. Decided to push through when they were broke. Decided to rise again when they were knocked down. Decided to walk alone when no one else believed. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Edison was labeled unteachable. Colonel Sanders pitched his chicken over 1,000 times before someone said yes. Do you understand what that means? They didn't win because they were geniuses. They won because they refused to stay down. Because their decision was louder than the world's rejection. So what about you? When it gets quiet, when no one's watching, when the applause stops, when the hype fades, will you still show up? Because that's when the decision is tested. Not when it's easy, but when it's exhausting. When you've given everything and the breakthrough still hasn't come. That's when most quit. That's when most beg for motivation. But not you. Because you've already decided. You've burned the boats. You've removed the exits. There is no plan B. There's only through. And when the world sees someone like that, they move. Doors open. People appear. The storm clears. But only after the decision. Every moment you hesitate, life moves on without you. While you're waiting for the perfect time, the clock is bleeding opportunity. While you are searching for a sign, someone else is building, brick by brick, with torn hands and a trembling heart. The greats. They didn't wait. They acted. Abraham Lincoln led a divided nation with nothing but clarity of purpose and steel in his spine. He failed, again and again. And again. But he never let failure rewrite his identity. Because that's what decision does. It anchors your identity. You stop asking, what should I do? And you start becoming the kind of person who does it. Automatically, relentlessly, without question. See, people chase motivation because they haven't formed identity. But when you decide who you are, your actions follow. A lion doesn't need a pep talk to hunt. A storm doesn't ask permission to shake the earth. They act according to their nature. So must you. You are not here to tiptoe through life, hoping not to offend, waiting to be chosen, hoping it gets easier. You are here to declare, to create, to conquer. This is not the age of the excuse. This is the age of the executor. Motivation is like lightning. It's beautiful. It's powerful. But it's gone in a flash. Decision is like fire. Once lit, it spreads, devouring obstacles, consuming weakness, igniting others. The people who transform their lives don't need to feel ready. They act as if they already are. And in the process, they become it. Think about it. Every champion was once a beginner. Every leader once felt like an imposter. Every millionaire once stood in front of the mirror and had to choose. Do I let the doubt win, or do I decide to rise anyway? And they, ones who win, they chose rise. Not once, not twice, but every single day. Because decision isn't a one-time event. It's a daily commitment. A declaration that today, no matter what, I will move forward. Even if it's slow. Even if it's painful. Even if I fall forward. Because falling forward is still progress. Because crawling with purpose still beats standing still in fear. And most of all, because I've made the decision. You don't need permission to build the life you want. You don't need applause to take the first step. You don't need someone to believe in you, you need to believe in you. You think Edison waited for motivation during his 10,000 failed attempts to invent the light bulb? No. He decided that failure would not define him. He decided that the goal was greater than the setback. And because he decided, we have light. And what about you? What light are you still hiding inside you? Waiting for some divine burst of motivation to finally flip the switch. Flip it yourself. Now. Today. Because the world doesn't need another hesitant soul. It needs someone who dares. Someone who dares to start the business without the perfect plan. Who dares to walk into the gym after years of shame and self-neglect. Who dares to look at the mirror and say, I'm done living like this. There is nothing more powerful than a human being who has made an unshakable decision. Because once that decision is made, the brain stops negotiating. It stops making room for fear. It stops rationalizing failure. It stops asking, can I? And starts stating, I will. Understand this. The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't filled with motivation. It's filled with decisions. Tiny ones, massive ones, painful ones. All of them matter. You don't get discipline. You choose it. You don't find focus. You create it by cutting off distractions like they're poison. You don't wait for your future. You forge it like steel in the fire. Every great legacy was born from the fire of decision. So if you want to change your life, stop chasing lightning and become the fire. No one is coming to save you. And that's not a tragedy. That's your awakening. Because the moment you realize it's on you, that's the moment your real life begins. You don't need 10 steps. You don't need the latest hack. You don't need the perfect morning routine, the dream mentor, the right time, the right weather, the right support. What you need is to look your excuses in the eye and say with calm, unshakable certainty, not anymore. Not another day spent scrolling through lives you're too afraid to build. Not another night escaping into distraction, addiction, or doubt. Not another year writing the same goals with the same broken promises. Because here's the truth most won't say out loud. If it really mattered to you, you'd already be doing it. You say you want it, but your actions say otherwise. So don't tell me you're waiting. Waiting is the myth of the lost, the lie of the average, the drug of the weak. Champions don't wait. They move, even when it hurts. They act, even when afraid. They decide, and then they become possessed by that decision. And that's the power you've forgotten you have. The power to decide who you'll be, regardless of the past. The power to rise, even after everything inside you says stay down. The power to become a force in a world full of spectators. Because here's something the system never taught you. Your future is not something you inherit. It's something you conquer. So don't you dare wait to feel ready. Don't you dare wait until it's easy. The path will never apologize for being uphill. And success doesn't care about your story, it cares about your standards. So, raise them. Not tomorrow. Now. Because the gap between who you are and who you were born to be will only close with one word. Decide. That you're done negotiating with your fear. Done playing small to make others comfortable. Done dimming your fire to fit into places you've outgrown. Decide that your past no longer gets to write your future. That the pain you've carried becomes the fuel that drives you forward. That you won't just survive this life, you'll master it. Because every day you hesitate, someone else is stepping into the life you were meant to live. While you are thinking, they're doing. While you are doubting, they're building. While you're hoping, they're deciding. You see, motivation is a flicker. It's warm, but it fades. But decision, real decision, is a wildfire. Once it's lit, it spreads to everything you touch. That's how legacies are built. Not on comfort, not on talent, not on good intentions, but on decision backed by action. Action backed by faith. Faith backed by unbreakable vision. Think of the giants who came before you. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Not because he was motivated. Because he decided failure wouldn't define him. Henry Ford was laughed at when he suggested mass-producing cars. Not because he was lucky. Because he decided the world would change, even if the world laughed. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Steve Jobs was pushed out of his own company. But none of that mattered. Because when you make a real decision, a decision that defines you, a decision that rewrites your identity, nothing outside of you can stop what's been ignited inside of you. Not critics, not setbacks, not fear, not failure, not even time. Because decision bends time. It compresses years into moments. It makes the impossible inevitable. And the moment you stop looking for motivation and start living from decision, that's the moment you become unstoppable. Because when you decide, truly decide, you don't need permission. You don't need applause. You don't even need energy. You create your own. Discipline becomes your rhythm. Pain becomes your teacher. Doubt becomes a spark, not a stop sign. And this is where the shift happens. This is where the old you dies. And the real you is born. Not the you molded by school or circumstance. Not the you shaped by trauma or timelines. But the you that's been waiting, watching, whispering. I'm still here. And I'm ready. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. You rise by claiming the identity of a person who shows up. Even when they don't feel like it. Especially when they don't feel like it. Because here's the truth most people will never accept. Your feelings do not decide your future. Your standards do. You brush your teeth every morning, not because you're motivated, but because it's a standard. You lock your doors at night, not because you're inspired, but because it's a standard. So why is your dream negotiable? Why is your vision optional? Why do you treat your greatness like a hobby? You don't need another dopamine hit from a motivational reel. You need a code, a way of living that demands the best from you, even when life gives you its worst. Because every master was once a novice who refused to quit. Every warrior bled before they won. And every legend you admire. They weren't made in moments of hype. They were forged in silence. In boredom. In the repetition no one saw. That's what makes them different. That's what makes them dangerous. And that's what makes you ready, if you decide. Because when you decide who you are, not just what you want, everything changes. Goals fade. Habits bend. But identity, that sticks. Motivation says, I want to be rich. Discipline says, I am the kind of person who creates wealth. Motivation says, I want to be healthy. Discipline says, I am the kind of person who never misses. Motivation asks, how do I feel today? Identity declares, this is who I am, no matter how I feel. Understand this, you will always act in alignment with the person you believe you are. So change that, and your entire life transforms. This is what separates the dreamers from the doers. The hungry from the obsessed. The interested from the committed. Motivated people dabble. Decided people become. They see the future before it exists. They build the identity first, and the outcome follows. They don't just write goals on paper, they tattoo values on their soul. I am a finisher. I am relentless. I am forged in discipline and fire. And every time life tests them, and it will, they don't waver. Because their vision is not a wish. It's a blueprint. And they are the architect. They are the builder. They are the storm. And when fear whispers, what if you fail? They roar back, what if I never try? Because here's the truth no one wants to say. If you do not define yourself, the world will do it for you. And it will always, always define your small. That's why this is not about hype. It's not about motivation. It's about burning the old self and building the one who can carry the dream. It's about waking up each day and saying, this is who I am now, and I don't negotiate with weakness. Not because it's easy, but because the life you want demands it. And anything less is betrayal. Purpose isn't something you stumble into. It's something you decide to build and bleed for. The greatest mistake people make is waiting for clarity before they act. But clarity is not the starting point. It's the reward. You earn it in the fire, in the fog, in the lonely moments when no one is watching and the only light is the one burning inside your chest. You don't wait to find your purpose. You declare war on mediocrity and make one. People waste years chasing motivation, trying to feel ready. But you're not supposed to feel ready, you're supposed to feel pulled. Pulled by something bigger than convenience. Bigger than the opinions of others. Bigger than comfort. What drives a man to keep building after failure? Number 10. What keeps a woman climbing when the world says she's done? It's not motivation. It's mission. It's identity. It's knowing, in the marrow of your bones, that you were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out. But not for fame. Not for attention. For impact. To show this world what it looks like when a human being decides to live with intention. To use every scar as fuel. To make every setback part of the staircase. You were not given your struggles as punishment. You were given them as preparation. Preparation for the mountain you were born to move. And you can't move that mountain with wishes. You move it with resolve. Most people want change, but they don't want to be changed. They want success, but not sacrifice. They want results, but not responsibility. They keep one foot in their comfort and the other in their calling. And so they live split in two. Half alive, half committed, half dreaming, half doing. But you are here because you are done with half measures. You're ready to become the kind of person who doesn't chase motivation. Because you are the fire. Because you are the force. Because you are the decision, walking, breathing, building. The time for waiting has passed. This is the line in the sand. You either cross it, or you keep circling the life you say you want but are too scared to claim. And you know what lives on the other side of that line. Not comfort, not applause, but freedom. The kind that only comes when you pay the price. The kind that only comes when you silence the excuses. And choose yourself. Discipline is not punishment. It is liberation. The world will tell you that discipline is restriction, but that's a lie sold by the mediocre to make you feel guilty for rising. Discipline is the soul's contract with its future. It is the bricks you lay, day by day, in silence. So that when the storm comes, and it will, your foundation doesn't shatter like the rest. People crave motivation because it feels good. Discipline doesn't always feel good. It feels like 5 a.m. alarms. Like doing the work when no one's clapping. Like pushing when your legs are tired, your heart is heavy, and your dreams feel distant. But discipline is what separates the remembered from the forgotten. It is the unseen work behind every overnight success. It is the pain you choose today, so that you never have to live with the pain of regret tomorrow. Do you think Thomas Edison wanted to try 1,000 times? Do you think Lincoln enjoyed losing more elections than most will ever run in? Do you think Oprah didn't have days she questioned her voice? But they chose the path anyway. Because they had decided. When you decide, you eliminate options. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking for permission from your fear. That's ownership. That's when you stop saying, I'll try. And you start saying, I will. Ownership means you stop blaming your boss, your parents, the economy, the algorithm. It means you stop outsourcing your destiny. Nobody is coming to save you. And that's the good news, because nobody can stop you, either. Momentum isn't built in bursts. It's built in silence. In streaks of days where nobody sees your work but you. And yet you keep showing up, again, again, again. Momentum doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. If you want to be great, stop trying to feel inspired. And start becoming undeniable. Every action you take, every representative, every word, every decision you don't delay, adds weight to your identity. It rewires your brain to stop being a spectator of success and start becoming the author of it. You don't rise by waiting. You rise by building. By trading cheap dopamine for deep purpose. By moving even when you don't feel like it. By earning your pride 1 hour at a time. Discipline is not a talent. It is not a trait you're born with. It is a choice you make so often that it becomes who you are. And when it does, you won't need motivation. Because your identity will carry you when emotion abandons you. You'll wake up and act, not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are now. Not a dreamer, not a wisher, a doer, a mover, a builder of destiny, brick by brick. So stop asking how to stay motivated. Start asking how to become a person who no longer needs it. Because when your decisions become your discipline, and your discipline becomes your identity, you become unstoppable. Adversity is not the enemy. It is the gatekeeper. Every worthwhile thing in life sits on the other side of struggle. Pain is the toll you pay to enter the kingdom of meaning. And yet, most people, they flinch at the first strike. They turn around at the first no. They retreat the moment comfort leaves the room. But those who rise, they don't fear adversity. They invite it. Because they understand something the average never will. That diamonds aren't found on smooth roads. They are mined from pressure. Forged by heat. Refined by fire. Success doesn't come to those who avoid pain. It comes to those who transform it. You see, every failure has two meanings. A reason to quit, or a reason to sharpen. Abraham Lincoln lost more times than he won. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he built. But they didn't crumble. They compounded. They used the rejection as the raw material for their redemption. Resilience isn't bouncing back. It's rising differently. With more clarity, more grit, and more conviction than you had before. It is not stubbornness. It is strategic stubbornness, the refusal to surrender your vision just because the path got ugly. Because let's be honest, the path will get ugly. There will be days the sky goes dark. When your friends don't believe in you. When your own reflection whispers, you can't. But that's when you must answer back with something louder than fear. Faith. Faith in the future only you can see. Faith in the process only you can feel. Faith in the voice that says, I was born for more than average. You don't need life to be easy. You need your spirit to be unbreakable. You don't need every door to open. You need to stop knocking and build your own. This is where the winners are separated from the watchers. When the world is quiet. When the applause is gone. When progress is invisible. Do you still move? Do you still show up when no one's watching? Do you still hold the line when everything in you wants to collapse? If you do, then success isn't a matter of if. It's only a matter of when. Because the universe rewards those who endure. Those who bend but do not break. Those who understand that storms are not here to drown you. They're here to cleanse you. To strip away your excuses. To test the strength of your decision. Adversity is the proof that your dream is real. Because only real dreams are worthy of resistance. So don't pray for an easier life. Pray for the strength to become someone who doesn't need ease. You want to know the truth. The pain is part of the path. The setbacks are part of the sculpture. The delays, the doubts, the detours, they are all chisels in the hands of destiny. You are not broken. You are being built. Not for the comfort of now. But for the calling of forever. So rise. Bleeding, crawling, crying if you must. But rise. And walk forward with scars, not shame. Because you are not a victim of the storm. You are the one who becomes the storm. Clarity is power. And most people will never touch greatness. Not because they're lazy. Not because they're unworthy. But because they're unclear. They don't know what they want. And if you don't know what you want, you'll settle for whatever life throws at you. You'll drift, wander, wait for signs that never come. And call it fate. But here's the truth, and it's brutal. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards decisiveness. You cannot build an empire on maybes. You cannot become legendary with half-hearted dreams and watered-down goals. The universe has no interest in vague intentions. It is attracted to precision. To definiteness. To those who declare, this is what I want. This is who I am. And I will not be denied. Napoleon Hill said it plainly. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. And he was right. Because until you decide with ruthless clarity what you want, Every action you take is diluted. Every effort, misdirected. You don't need 100 options. You need one obsession. You don't need to know every step. You need to commit to the direction. You don't need the perfect plan. You need the perfect reason. A reason that makes you leap out of bed with fire in your chest and thunder in your veins. Because once your why is clear, the how will bend to your will. This is what vision does. It shapes your world. It sharpens your choices. It burns away distractions. Vision is the lighthouse in the storm. It's what keeps you from trading your destiny for dopamine. Without it, you are a leaf in the wind. With it, you are a hurricane of focus. Henry Ford had a vision. Not just of cars, but of revolutionizing the entire way people moved. He didn't have 1,000 ideas. He had one, and it was enough to bend the century. Disney had a vision. Not just of cartoons, but of building an empire of imagination. Carnegie, Edison, Mandela, all the giants walked with certainty. Not because the path was clear, but because they were. So what about you? What do you burn for? What idea keeps you awake at night? Pounding inside your chest, begging to be built. Whatever that is, you owe it more than interest. You owe it devotion. Stop flirting with your dream. Marry it. Live for it. Sacrifice for it. Bleed for it. Because until your vision becomes non-negotiable, it will always be optional. And here's something else no one wants to say. If you don't build your vision, you'll be hired to build someone else's. You'll spend your life climbing a ladder, only to realize, too late, that it was leaning against the wrong wall. So let this be the line in the sand. The moment you decide to stop chasing potential and start chasing purpose. The moment you declare war on distraction and declare peace with focus. No more, someday. No more, maybe. This is your time to decide what your life will mean. Not just for you, but for the world that will one day speak your name. Do you want to be remembered as someone who tried? Or someone who transformed? Because the difference between regret and legacy is vision. And the difference between vision and reality is a decision. Listen to me closely. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. Not comfort. Not indulgence. Not doing what you feel like doing. Discipline is waking up and honoring the promise you made to yourself long after the emotion you made it in is gone. It's showing up when no one is watching. It's putting in the reps when your hands are shaking. It's saying no to the easy path because you are building something eternal. Every legend you've ever admired, every hero you've ever studied, every billionaire, every mogul, every master, they all walked the same invisible path. They did the work after the mood left. They kept showing up long after their motivation died. Because they weren't chasing dopamine. They were chasing destiny. They knew. Discipline is not punishment. It's a portal. It is the bridge between your decision and your result. You want greatness. You want impact. You want to leave this earth knowing your name changed lives. Then you must kill your addiction to comfort. And bury your need for immediate rewards. Because life will test your hunger. It will whisper, sleep in. It will tempt, just this once. It will plead, take the easy way. But champions, they don't negotiate with weakness. They override it. They feel the same doubts, the same fear, the same pain. But they act anyway. And that's the power of discipline. It doesn't ask, do I feel like it today? It commands, we do it anyway. Every time you push through resistance, you rewrite your identity. You become the kind of person who finishes what they start. The kind who doesn't flinch when it gets hard. The kind who builds empire in silence and lets results do the talking. Muhammad Ali once said, I hated every minute of training. But I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. That's the trade. Pain now. Power forever. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about choosing your values over your feelings. Your mission over your moods. Because here's the truth. Every time you take the hard road, you take one step closer to becoming unbreakable. And once you are unbreakable, no storm can shake you. Not rejection. Not failure. Not betrayal. Not fear. Because discipline turns pain into fuel. And pressure into diamonds. It sharpens your focus, toughens your will, and makes your word to yourself stronger than any excuse. So if you're waiting for motivation, stop. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel responsible. For the dream. For the vision. For the person you swore you'd become. That version of you, the one with the results, the life, the peace, the wealth, the mastery. They're waiting at the end of 1,000 hard choices. Choices no one else will see. But everyone else will feel. So decide now. Will you be average and comfortable? Or uncommon and unstoppable? Because discipline is the doorway. And you already have the key. Not in the sunlight. Not in applause. Not in the moments when things go right. Resilience is forged in the wreckage. In the days when everything you built begins to crack. When your plans collapse. When your name is forgotten, and your strength is questioned. That's where the real ones rise. Let me tell you something no one says out loud. You will fall. You will be betrayed. You will invest your heart in people who never deserved it. You will spend years building something that breaks in minutes. And the world will not pause to help you. But that's the gift. Because life doesn't make you stronger through ease. It makes you stronger by testing your roots. By shaking your foundations and whispering in your ear. Let's see what you're really made of. You see, resilience isn't bouncing back. That's too soft, too clean. Resilience is crawling forward with your teeth clenched and your vision burning, even when every bone in your body says stop. It's getting up when nothing inside you wants to. It's trying again. With hope as your only weapon and scars as your only armor. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he created the light bulb. When asked how it felt to fail that many times, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention worth 1,000 steps. That's the mindset. That's the muscle. Resilience is when failure becomes your teacher, not your tombstone. And if you look closely, you'll see. Every powerful soul you admire walked through hell. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school varsity team. But what did they all do? They showed up again. Because they understood. The world will try to break you. But you only lose if you believe it. You don't need everything to go your way. You just need to be the kind of person who won't quit when it doesn't. Resilience is not just about survival. It's about transformation. It's about using the storm to rebuild something stronger than what was destroyed. It's not saying, why me? It's rising with the fire in your eyes and declaring, try me. So if you are in the middle of the storm right now, if you feel like the walls are closing in, if you've been betrayed, overlooked, broken, or abandoned, good. Because now, you get to find out who you really are. Not when it's easy. Not when they're cheering. Not when your bank account is full and the path is smooth. No. You find your truth in the rubble. You meet your power in the struggle. That's where resilience is born. So dig deep. Stand back up. Speed blood if you have to, but don't you dare stay down. Because the future is watching. And it doesn't belong to the soft-hearted. It belongs to the relentless. Not with logic, but with conviction. Most people are trapped in the world they see. They believe what's visible is all that's possible. They wake up, see the same walls, feel the same fear, live the same loop. And they call that truth. But the ones who change the world, they don't operate from what is. They operate from what could be. Vision is rebellion against the ordinary. It's the refusal to let what you see define what you believe. Every skyscraper began as a sketch. Every symphony started as silence. Every revolution was once just a whisper in someone's soul. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't march because he saw freedom. He marched because he saw beyond injustice. He held a vision so strong, so clear, that even a mountain of hate couldn't shake it. That's the power of vision. It's not passive. It's not soft. It's not a dream you write in a notebook and forget. Vision is a weapon. It cuts through doubt. It tears through mediocrity. It carves out a future that has never existed before. But here's the secret. The world will not hand you permission to see differently. It will mock you, laugh at your ambition, tell you to be realistic. Realistic. Was it realistic for the Wright brothers to believe they could fly? For Steve Jobs to believe we'd carry the world in our pockets? For Malala to speak when a bullet tried to silence her? No, it wasn't realistic. It was visionary. And that's exactly why it worked. You must learn to see with the eyes of your soul, not your circumstances. Because if you only trust what you see, you'll be trapped by your current reality. But if you trust what you feel, what burns inside you, then you can reshape time itself. When you walk by vision, you don't chase approval. You don't beg for signs. You don't wait for someone to clap for you. You walk forward, even when the road isn't built yet. You speak truth, even when your voice shakes. You move mountains, one belief at a time. And when they say, it can't be done, you smile. Because you've already seen it. And that's enough. So if your life feels foggy, if your energy is scattered, if your passion is dim, the problem isn't your ability. It's your vision. Decide. Right now. Who are you becoming? Not what job. Not what salary. Not what title. Who are you becoming? What kind of legacy do you leave behind when your voice is gone and your body returns to dust? That answer. That image. That's your North Star. And once you see it, really see it, you walk like it's already done. Because vision isn't waiting for something to happen. Vision is becoming the person it already requires. Purpose is not a path you find outside of yourself. It is a fire you uncover within. It's not a label, not a job title, not a to-do list. It is the reason your heart beats louder when you think of certain dreams. It is the invisible thread that pulls you towards something greater. Even when the world pulls you back into the small. Most people walk the earth without it. They wake up, not because they're alive, but because the alarm told them to. They eat without tasting, work without creating, talk without meaning. They live on autopilot, drifting in circles, never arriving, forever waiting for something external to spark what can only come from within. But purpose. Purpose is a rebellion against the meaningless. It is the moment you say, I will not waste this breath. I will not waste this life. I will not die full of unused potential. Do you understand how rare that decision is? You weren't born to fit into the mold. You weren't born to echo the voices of those too afraid to speak their own. You were born to disturb the silence. To pierce through mediocrity. To leave a mark that only you could carve into the timeline of history. And don't think purpose means ease. Purpose will break you before it builds you. It will demand nights with no sleep. It will ask you to keep moving when your legs shake and your lungs burn. Because purpose is not about feeling good. It's about doing what is necessary. Necessary for your soul. Necessary for your legacy. Necessary for the ones who come after you. Look at Mandela. Locked in a prison cell for 27 years. And yet his purpose outgrew the bars. Look at Rosa Parks. She didn't just refuse a seat. She claimed a destiny. Look at you. You're still here. Still breathing. Which means your purpose hasn't expired. It's just waiting for you to rise. So stop asking for motivation. Stop waiting for signs. You want to feel alive. Then give your life something worth bleeding for. A mission. A standard. A reason. Because when purpose becomes your engine, there are no wasted days. There are no meaningless mornings. Every action is infused with intention. Every step is a declaration. This is who I am. This is what I came for. And I will not leave this earth undone. Let them call you obsessed. Let them call you extreme. Let them misunderstand your fire. You're not here to be understood by the lukewarm. You're here to be felt. To be remembered. To become a force so aligned. So laser focused. So grounded in purpose. That you no longer need to search for your life's meaning.